What's going on YouTube? It's your buddy Big Play Ray, and I'm coming to you today to go ahead and knock out this topic of creatine. Just as I promised you all. I got all your emails and I've scribbled down just about everything, all the questions that you guys asked me. I've scribbled it down, and going to go ahead and knock out a couple of answers. This is my second time recording this video because the first one was like 15 minutes. So I'm just going to answer some of the questions now, and tomorrow I'll upload the other two videos, and we'll do it like that. So first of all, what is creatine? Okay, it is not a stimulant, you know, like all the stimulants that you find in your different nitric oxides and pre-workout supplements. There's lots of different stimulants in there, like caffeine and things like that, but creatine is not in that circle. Although it's in a lot of those pre-workout supplements, it's not actually a stimulant like that. Okay, you know, you take caffeine and within moments you can actually feel the results. Creatine is not like that. Okay, you take it, but you're not going to see the results, you know, within the first 30 minutes of you taking it. It's not that type of supplement. And it's not a steroid. Okay, it's naturally occurring in lots of foods, especially your meats. You know, it's a naturally occurring, but really an acid. But I'm not going to get too scientific with these particular answers. We'll just keep it basic, you know, and let you know that it's definitely a good sidekick to a mass to a mass phase. If you're gaining weight or anything like that, it's definitely a great sidekick to actually do that. So, who is it for? It's actually for males and females. As far as teens, well, let's look at the label. Okay, because you can't go wrong when you look at the label. Here's the bottle I have here made by EAS. This is just regular creatine monohydrate. And as far as the recommended use, it says do not use if under the age of 18. So there you go. We can't go wrong listening to the advice there. Now, you know, I'm going off the record and saying that, you know, if you're like, you know, 16 or so, I don't guess it's going to do that much harm. If you're in pretty much good health, I don't think it's going to do anything like that, as long as you use the recommended serving size. You know, you don't want to overdose on creatine. Okay, you don't. It's bad on the kidneys and things like that, you know, when you start having heavy amounts of it, and especially if it's a bad quality, because depending on the company, you know what I mean, they may use a cheaper refinery process and end up with a lot of heavy metals and things like that inside of it. So you don't want to overdose on it for sure. When you're using it, you definitely want to keep your water intake high. You want to keep your kidneys flush, and that's actually with anything, not just creatine. Whether you're taking any type of supplement, or even if you're not doing supplement, water is very key. It should be one of the key components to your diet is your water intake. Okay. Let's see here. What else we got here? Took care of that. How can you tell that it is working for you? Okay, but before I go into that particular subject, let me talk about my take. You know, there's other channels out there that tell you that the loading is a sales tactic. You know, and in fact, some of you all have told me that loading is a sales tactic. I've tried it both ways. I've loaded with creatine, and what I mean by the term loading, some directions instruct you to take around 20 grams of creatine. We're talking about creatine monohydrate right now. You know, there's lots of forms, but we're talking about creatine monohydrate right now. A lot of them tell you to take 20 grams of the creatine for the first 5 to 7 days, and there's 20 grams spread out throughout the day to actually load your body, saturate your muscles with the extra creatine. And then there's some people that say you can just skip the loading phase and just go straight to taking 5 grams or so a day, and you'll be fine. Okay, I tried both ways before I'm going to make this, you know, my statement here. I've definitely tried it both ways and more than once. I like to load. I mean, you can say it's a sales tactic all you want. It works for me. Okay, when I load, I can see results. I can tell that the creatine is working for me pretty much by the second, third day in the gym. If I'm pushing it hard, I can tell that the creatine is in my system, that it's increased my endurance, you know, where I'm usually, you know, gassed out on my third or fourth set. I could actually squeeze out another set or so, you know what I mean? That there's just like a a second wind, an extra gear when I actually load. Okay. When I don't load, yes.